Welcome back to Turkish series stars, where we follow every whisper, every glance, and every heartbeat from your favorite icons of the screen. Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the stories that everyone else mentions after the fact. Tonight, all eyes are on Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel, because what unfolded at the launch of her brand new series stunned the room, hijacked social feeds, and reignited a conversation many thought had dimmed for good. It began innocently enough. Days before the premiere, Yağmur posted a refined, almost minimalist invitation on her socials, a teaser filled with warm golds and crisp typography. It read as an open door to a new era. What nobody anticipated was the guest who would walk through it. Minutes before the night's first spotlight hit the stage, Barış stepped onto the carpet in a sharp black suit, tailored so cleanly it seemed to glide with him. The swarm was immediate. Photographers calling his name like a chorus, and yet he paused, met the questions calmly, and offered a single, resonant line: "I'll always stand behind Yağmur's work. She is exceptional, and I respect her deeply." That was all it took. Within moments, timelines detonated. Clips of Barış under the flashbulbs, cross-cut with Yağmur's smile from the stage lights, turned into quick edits that raced across platforms. Comment sections filled with late-night poetry. That real feeling never has an expiration date, that soulmates find their orbit no matter how long the drift. People wrote that this wasn't nostalgia, it was gravity. Others reminded everyone that grown-up affection can be quiet and dignified. But whether you called it fate or timing, every scroll brought another angle, a close-up of his cufflinks, the gleam in her eyes when the host mentioned her first co-star, the space between them that seemed to hum. Inside the venue, the energy changed the minute they were in the same hall. They weren't seated together, intentionally, maybe, but those who watched closely swore the air carried a current. A look from him as she took the stage. A fleeting glance from her when a clip from their old project flashed behind her in a montage. Neither overplayed it. No theatrics. No grand gestures. Just the kind of awareness you can't stage, the kind you sense before you can name it. Then came the moment people keep replaying. Mid-speech, Yağmur paused, took in the room, and spoke in a voice that softened at the edges. "Sometimes," she said, "we step away so we can see the things that mattered with new eyes." It wasn't about anyone, and yet it was about everything. The audience applauded with the warmth you reserve for a confession you understand. And somewhere between the ovation and the hush that followed, a camera found Barış. He smiled barely, but unmistakably. And the expression was so unguarded that it didn't need a caption. Fans clipped it in slow motion, arguing over whether it was gratitude, nostalgia, or something braver. A friend close to Yağmur, someone who knows the rhythms of her preparation days, whispered to a reporter afterward that she wanted him there, full stop. This milestone mattered, the source said. She asked him to share the room with her. I don't think people understand how much that says. If you listened carefully, you could feel a door opening. Not a reconciliation announcement. Not even a plan. Just a willingness to let an old light fall differently in a new season. Hours later, the story shifted again when Barış posted a black and white backstage shot. It wasn't a portrait. It wasn't even a face. It was Yağmur captured from behind as she stood in the wing, haloed by the spill of stage light, hands steady at her sides. His caption: "When talent meets bravery, the work breathes." It was spare and thoughtful, the sort of line that can sit as an artistic salute, or lean into something more personal if you tilt your head. Commenters did both. Some read it as a love letter in code. Others saw professional admiration polished to a shine. Either way, it spread like perfume, clinging to everyone who saw it. Morning brought microphones. Reporters waited outside the studio where Yağmur was due for a radio hit, hoping for a headline. She gave them none. Just a small smile and a soft answer. A quiet presence can speak louder than any speech. That single sentence did the work of 1,000, and still left room for silence to do what it does best: invite curiosity. Behind the scenes, though, a different picture emerged. A technician from the production team, the kind of person who knows where the light stands and where the secrets live, told an entertainment program that Barış had spent most of the event backstage, steering clear of spectacle. The tech swore that before the final curtain call, the two found a few minutes alone. No grand declarations. No tension. Just a quiet exchange. It was warm, the source said, real. Hands together, fingers laced for a second, like muscle memory. True or embellished, the descriptions swept the feeds, each retelling adding its own atmosphere. Fans, restless and resourceful, went mining. Old interviews resurfaced, clips stitched into new narratives. In one throwback, Yağmur laughed through a long day anecdote. On the hardest weeks, somehow he'd pull a joke out of nowhere and the set would feel lighter. In another, Barış talked about her without ever letting it sound like praise. She carries a glow you can't teach. Working with her was a chapter I'm grateful for. Familiar words felt different now, reframed by the glow of the gala night and everything unsaid between two people who once learned to perform together and perhaps learned to feel together, too. 2 days after the launch, while the buzz should have settled, Yağmur poured a little more oil onto the fire. She posted a tiny video, barely 10 seconds long. A table. Morning light. 2 cups of coffee cooling side by side, steam drawing soft threads in the air. To most, it was aesthetic. But fans remembered an old post from years ago on Barış's feed, 2 mugs, 1 caption about sharing time, and that echo was all they needed. Speculation bloomed like a night flower, fragile but perfumed. And then the grainy photograph arrived, a whisper of an image that everyone swore they knew how to read. The corner of a boutique hotel lobby, blurred faces leaning toward each other, laughter caught between them like something they'd dropped and picked up again. Maybe it was them. Maybe it wasn't. All that mattered was how it felt. Through it all, the official line hardened. A representative for Yağmur issued a neat statement that did the job of dousing flames without actually lowering the temperature. Ms. Yüksel is grateful for the extraordinary support from her audience. Her attention is on the work at hand. She will not be addressing matters related to her private life at this time. Those measured words rolled through every outlet, and yet they didn't stop the dissection. If anything, they turned up the volume. A fan tag tied to their names surged again, a portmanteau that once burned bright and then fell quiet returning to the trending wall as if it had just been waiting for oxygen. Even analysts joined the chorus. On a live broadcast, a body language expert slowed the footage down frame by frame and narrated the unspoken. Notice how he looks at her, direct but gentle, then the micro smile that follows, and the head tilt that exposes the neck, which is a classic sign of openness. That's not superficial admiration. That's contained tenderness, the kind you tuck away and take out when you feel safe. Cue another round of edits, this time cut to sweeping strings and candlelit memories, scenes from their early victories stitched against newer images that made people realize time doesn't always erase, sometimes, it refines. Then came the report that sparked a different kind of conversation. A respected trade outlet claimed that right after the event, Barış had passed on 2 significant international offers, projects that would have kept him away for months. Choosing to stay close to home instead. The reasons weren't spelled out. The timing was. No one confirmed a shared project, yet every choice, every glance, every post seemed to line up like breadcrumbs on a familiar path. Was he guarding space for something? Were they leaving the door ajar to let a new story breeze in? No press release appeared. No joint statement. The rooms they moved through stayed lit but private. And yet, for the people who have followed them through cliffhangers on-screen and rumors off-screen, this felt less like a stunt and more like a season turning. Fans daydreamed aloud, imagine them back on a set, older, steadier, bringing a new kind of fire to scenes that once burned bright, imagine them away from cameras, finding out whether what tied them together professionally might look different without scripts and call sheets. Comments unfolded like letters. One person wrote that seeing them in the same frame again made them believe in timing. Another swore that even if this was only two artists honoring each other, it was still beautiful. At the center of it all sat the simplest facts. He came for her big night. She let him be seen in her orbit. They said little, but what they didn't say did most of the talking. The rest was a shadow play. A laugh caught in passing, a backstage photo lit like a memory, a quiet quote with weight under it, 2 cups cooling on a sunlit table. In an industry where everything is either loudly celebrated or quickly denied, their restraint felt almost radical, like a promise to treat something precious with care. So where does that leave us? Maybe somewhere new, somewhere in between. Maybe it leaves us with the possibility that closure is not always a closed door, and that the right kind of past can be the start of a different future. Maybe it leaves us, like them, learning to read the room and each other again, seeing familiar lines with gentler eyes. Whether this is the prologue to a reunion or simply the respectful coda to a story that mattered, it has already reminded everyone why this pair captured attention in the first place. Not because they were noisy, but because when they stood near each other, the world got a little quieter and we all listened harder. Tell me what you think below. Was Barış's arrival a white flag, a fresh start, or just a loyal friend's salute? Would you want to see them share the screen again, or are you secretly hoping the next time they stand shoulder to shoulder, it won't be for a scene at all? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more stories like this, told with care, detail, and the kind of emotion that makes you rewind, hit subscribe and stay with Turkish series stars. The next chapter might be closer than anyone expects, and when it breaks, you'll hear it here first.